Bundling done wrong is the fastest way to lose a deal you already won. Bundling done right is the difference between a single policy client and a household that pays you for the next 10 years. This training gives you a simple 3-step framework that lets you bundle naturally, without ever overwhelming the client or sounding like a salesperson stacking products. Most agents think bundling means presenting multiple products at once. So they put 4 brochures on the table, or they pull up 4 quotes on screen, and they try to walk the client through everything in one sitting. The client shuts down. The agent gets confused signals, and the deal that should have closed at $3,000 in annual commission walks out the door at $600. The fear underneath this is real. You worry that if you bring up a second or third product, the client will think you're stacking commissions. You worry the conversation will get too long. You worry they'll get decision fatigue and say no to everything. So you stop at 1. You write the Medicare plan. You walk away, and you leave 80% of that household's protection picture untouched. Here's the reframe that fixes everything. Bundling is not stacking products. Bundling is solving one problem with the right combination of tools. The client doesn't have a Medicare problem and a final expense problem and a dental problem. The client has one problem, which is, my family needs to be protected, and I want to know that I've covered the gaps. Your job is not to sell 3 products. Your job is to identify which gaps are real for this household and recommend the simple combination that closes them. When you frame it this way, bundling stops feeling pushy. The client doesn't feel like they're being upsold. They feel like they're being served, and served well. So here's the framework. 3 steps: gap, scenario, simple recommendation. That's it. Memorize those 3 words and you have the entire bundling process. We're going to walk through each step. Step 1, gap. After the primary policy is in place, you ask 3 or 4 short discovery questions to identify which protection gaps actually exist in this household, not which products you can sell. Which gaps are actually open? There's a difference. You ask things like, do you have any final expense coverage in place? Do you have any dental, vision, or hearing benefits? Has anyone in your family been diagnosed with cancer? Would your spouse be financially okay if something happened to you tomorrow? These are not selling questions. They're listening questions. And the answers tell you exactly which gaps are real. The rule for this step is short and brutal. Ask, don't pitch. The moment you start explaining what a product does in the discovery phase, you've broken the framework. You're not there to teach yet. You're there to find out what's missing. Step 2, scenario. Once you've identified 1 or 2 real gaps, you don't pitch a product. You walk the client through what happens in their actual life if that gap stays open. This is where most agents collapse the framework, because they get excited and they jump straight to recommending a plan. Don't do that. The scenario is what makes the recommendation feel inevitable. Skip the scenario, and the recommendation feels like a sales pitch. Here's how a scenario sounds. Let's say the client told you they don't have any final expense coverage. You say something like, walk me through what would happen if something happened to you tomorrow. Who's writing the check for the funeral? Does your spouse have access to that money quickly, or is it tied up in the house? And how much do you think a typical funeral costs in your area today? You're not selling, you're asking, and the client is doing the math out loud. They start to picture their spouse calling the funeral home, finding out the cost, realizing the money's locked in retirement accounts, watching their daughter take time off work to help. The gap stops being theoretical. It becomes a real Tuesday afternoon. That mental picture is what closes the deal, not your pitch. Step 3, simple recommendation. This is where the framework either pays off or falls apart. After the gap is named and the scenario is real, you make one recommendation in plain language and you stop talking. You do not stack 3 products. You do not lay out a buffet. You recommend the single, simplest combination that solves the gaps you uncovered. The rule is 2 products maximum, layered onto the primary policy already in place. 2, not 4, not 5. If a household truly has 4 gaps, you don't try to close them all in one sitting. You close the 2 most urgent gaps now, and you book a future appointment for the rest. Why? Because the human brain can hold 2 new commitments comfortably. 3 starts to wobble, 4 collapses into none. Producing agents know this, and they protect the client from themselves by keeping the recommendation tight. Here's how the recommendation sounds. After the gap and the scenario have done their work, you say something like, "Based on what you just walked me through, I'd recommend 2 things. A small, final expense policy that covers the funeral and gives your spouse cash on hand the same week. And a dental, vision, and hearing plan. Because your dental issues are out of pocket today, and that's the gap you're feeling every 6 months. Those 2 together run about $150 a month combined. Want me to walk through what they look like?" Notice what you just did. You named exactly 2 products. You tied each one directly to a gap the client surfaced themselves. You gave 1 combined number, not 2 separate numbers. And you ended with a question that invites them in, instead of a closing pitch that pushes them. That's the move. 2 mistakes wreck this framework. 1 is leading with price. Some agents get nervous and open with the cost. The client hears the dollar amount before they understand the value, and their brain jumps to no. Lead with what the bundle does, then the combined price, then ask if they want to see it, in that order. The second mistake is over-explaining. Once you make the recommendation, resist the urge to keep talking. New agents, especially, keep adding features, riders, and edge cases. Stop. The client doesn't need more information. They need a moment to process. Make the recommendation, ask if they want to see it, and let them answer. Now let me walk you through what this looks like with a real client. You're sitting with Mr. Davis. The Medicare supplement enrollment is done. You take the bridge moment and you start step 1. The gap, you ask if he has any final expense coverage. He says he has a small whole life policy from 20 years ago, but he's not sure what it covers. You ask if he has dental, vision, or hearing. He laughs and says he hasn't been to the dentist in 3 years because it's too expensive out of pocket. You ask if he or his wife have been diagnosed with anything serious. He says his wife had breast cancer 5 years ago, but she's clear now. You stop asking. You move to step 2, the scenario. You go to the dental issue first because it was the most emotional moment in the conversation. You say something like, "So when you say it's too expensive out of pocket, what are we actually talking about? When was the last cleaning and what did it cost?" He tells you, $200 for the cleaning, $800 for the crown he's been putting off. He hasn't done it because of the money. That's a real gap that's affecting his daily life right now. You move to step 3, the recommendation. You say something like, "Based on what you've shared, I'd recommend 2 things. A standalone dental, vision, and hearing plan that handles cleanings, exams, and the bigger work, like crowns and dentures, so you stop putting them off. And a small final expense policy on top of what you already have, just enough to make sure your wife has cash in hand the same week if something happens, instead of waiting on the older policy to clear. Combined, those run about $90 a month. Want me to show you what they look like?" He nods. You pull up the plans, you write the bundle. The Medicare supplement was the entry. The bundle is the household. Here's your action step. Today, write the 3 framework words on an index card. Gap, scenario, simple recommendation. Tape it where you sit during appointments. On your next 3 Medicare or MedSup enrollments, after the primary application is signed, run the framework exactly as written. 3 discovery questions. 1 scenario walkthrough on the gap that lands hardest. 1 recommendation, 2 products maximum, combined price, then stop talking. 3 appointments from now, you'll have the framework in your bones, and bundling will stop feeling awkward forever.